latest video, Stephanie Jenkins is basically calling CPS child snatchers because they've come to her door multiple times wanting to investigate her living situation and all these claims. They're literally doing their job. Do you think that they want to be constantly called to your motel shelter room? I'm so surprised that nothing has come of it, just because some of the things that you do in your videos, Stephanie Jenkins, are abhorrent. Some of the things that you do as far as and Drew too, because Drew is the source.
Stephanie Jenkins has stirred up a whole new level of drama online, and this time, it's not just social media gossip, it involves Child Protective Services. Things exploded after Stephanie went live in a fiery rant where she didn't hold back one bit. She accused CPS of tormenting her family and boldly called them child snatchers.
In her latest video, Stephanie Jenkins is basically calling CPS child snatchers because they've come to her door multiple times wanting to investigate her living situation and all these claims. They're literally doing their job. Do you think that they want to be constantly called to your motel shelter room? I'm so surprised that nothing has come of it, just because some of the things that you do in your videos, Stephanie Jenkins, are abhorrent. Some of the things that you do as far as and Drew too, because Drew is the source.
That's right, she painted the entire agency, whose job is to protect children, as villains who are out to get her. Now, here's the thing, CPS doesn't just make house calls for no reason. Their involvement doesn't come out of thin air. Reports have to be made, usually by people who are seriously concerned about the safety and well-being of children. And in Stephanie's case, those concerns are often triggered by the very content she posts herself. She's incredibly active on TikTok and frequently goes live, sharing raw, unfiltered glimpses into her home life. But instead of showcasing a stable, healthy family environment, what many viewers have noticed is complete chaos, kids running around unsupervised, screaming in the background, messy and sometimes downright unsafe-looking spaces, and a constant sense of disorder. Rather than acknowledging these red flags or even considering that maybe, just maybe, something in her household might need attention, Stephanie turned the spotlight on everyone else. She lashed out at the people who've reported her, calling them names and accusing them of trying to ruin her life. According to her, these reports are nothing more than the work of bitter, jealous strangers who sit around all day with nothing better to do.
So surprised that nothing has come of it, just because some of the things that you do in your videos, Stephanie Jenkins, are abhorrent. Some of the things that you do as far as and Drew too, because Drew is the source. When he had all those blankets in the bassinet and the baby had him over their face, red flag. When he was driving to the car wash and said baby, first of all, the 2-year-old was facing forward. The I don't know how old she is, but the middle child was in the passenger seat without a booster. Not saying that she needed to be in a booster in the passenger seat, just saying that she needs to be in a booster in the back, at the very least. For my daughter who's 6 years old, I do the whole this, because she's little, she's itty bitty, she's 6 years old, her body's still not developed. But yes, they're not child snatchers, Stephanie Jenkins. They're doing their job, something that you don't know what it is. So let me define it. A job is where a person will clock in hours and they get paid for the amount of time and their effort that they put into the day. Sometimes it's a profession, sometimes it's a career. They're contributing to society and not just breeding.
But what she fails to realize, or refuses to accept, is that most of the people raising concerns are reacting to what she's voluntarily putting out there. It's not secret footage or rumors, it's Stephanie's own content that's getting attention from CPS. During one of her more recent outbursts, she casually mentioned that her child, Hat Toller, might be on the autism spectrum. Now, most parents would handle that kind of information with sensitivity. They might talk about seeking professional evaluation, getting resources, or reaching out for advice from other parents going through the same thing. But Stephanie? She used the moment as another opportunity to go on the offensive. She didn't talk about support or awareness. Instead, she used it as a platform to insult and belittle anyone who has ever questioned her. She called people idiots, said she didn't care what anyone had to say, and doubled down on the idea that the real problem wasn't her parenting, it was everyone else sticking their noses in her business. But here's where the story starts to unravel. CPS has reportedly been to her home multiple times, not just once or twice, but repeatedly. And no matter how many times Stephanie tries to spin it as harassment, the truth is a lot more grounded. CPS doesn't have the time, funding, or staff to randomly drop in on families for kicks. These workers are often underpaid, overworked, and dealing with incredibly heavy caseloads. When they knock on someone's door, it's because they have a real reason to believe something may be wrong. The sad part is, those reasons are often visible in plain sight on Stephanie's social media. Videos showing dangerous setups, kids left to fend for themselves, or her losing her temper while on live, none of that goes unnoticed. People don't just call CPS because they don't like her. They call because they're genuinely worried about what they're seeing, and when those calls come in over and over again, CPS has no choice but to investigate. That's not them targeting Stephanie. That's them doing their job. Despite that, Stephanie keeps turning the tables. She claims she and her family are being tormented by repeated CPS visits, acting as if she's being stalked or harassed. She describes the visits as traumatic, insists the agency won't leave her alone, and says the whole thing is destroying her life. But here's what she's not saying: if everything was clean, calm, and safe at home, CPS wouldn't keep coming back. They're not in the business of wasting time. And yet, every time they return, it's because the concerns haven't gone away. Instead of asking, why do they keep showing up, maybe Stephanie should be asking, what can I change so they don't have to? Because the way it's going, the cycle will only continue. As long as she's publicly posting troubling content and doing the bare minimum when it comes to parenting, people are going to keep raising red flags. And CPS is going to keep doing what they're legally obligated to do: check on children who might be in danger. Let's get into the real tea about that infamous Skywash video Stephanie Jenkins proudly shared, thinking, no doubt, it showed off a wholesome, carefree family outing. But to anyone with even a shred of awareness about child safety, it was a total mess, one red flag after another. So here's the scene: the whole family piled into a tiny 5-seater Jetta. They don't have a van anymore, and instead of adjusting responsibly, they crammed 2 adults and 4 kids into a car clearly not designed for that many passengers. And how did they do it? By cutting corners in a way that put their children directly at risk. One major concern? Their 8-year-old daughter was sitting up front in the passenger seat. That's a huge no-no. Safety guidelines clearly state that children under 12 should be in the back seat, especially when airbags are active. Airbags can be deadly for younger kids in the event of a crash. And the seatbelt? It wasn't even fitted properly. It sat way too high on her body, dangerously across her neck and stomach, which could lead to serious injuries if anything went wrong. That's not just a small error, it's a potentially life-threatening mistake. Now look at the back seat. Only the toddler had any kind of car seat. The other kids? Just sitting there unsecured or with regular seatbelts, no boosters, no child-appropriate restraints. It was beyond careless. It was like child safety didn't even cross their minds. Every child should be buckled up according to their size and age, with the right car seat or booster. That wasn't happening.
Zillion Jenkins have a brand new 2024 car. Mind you, they have 5 children, and apparently they have a Jetta. Drew's been posting all about his car on his TikTok that he made recently. And people are like, oh, so y'all have a brand new 2024 car, but it's clearly not big enough for all of your family. And they used to have a van that was like paid off, but they sold it because they needed money. Why the fuck would you sell something that you quite literally need because you have 5 kids? Now we know exactly where all the money is going. These people clearly have all of their priorities fucked up. And let's keep in mind that there are actually people out there that are supporting and defending these people. And y'all are so quick to be like, oh, you're mom shaming, you're mom shaming. Some people should literally be ashamed. Oh.
And then there's Drew, who filmed the whole thing like it was some sweet family memory, uploaded it, edited it, posted it to the world with zero recognition of how dangerous it actually was. People called it out in the comments, flagged the safety concerns, but instead of removing the video or responding with any kind of accountability, he stayed silent. That silence speaks volumes. It shows that this wasn't just a one-time oversight. It's part of a larger pattern, a repeated failure to understand or care when something they're doing could seriously harm their kids. But wait, it gets worse. In the same video, while claiming it was family bonding time, they had their 5-month-old baby positioned inches from a blaring TV screen. The baby's face was so close it looked like she was using the screen as a pillow. They were watching Miss Rachel, fine in small doses, but not when the baby's practically fused to the screen. Experts have warned over and over that too much screen time, especially up close, can hurt a baby's eyesight and brain development. It's not just overstimulation, it's harmful. And what was Stephanie doing while her infant was glued to the screen? She was zoned out on her phone. Not interacting, not playing, not even watching the baby, just scrolling. Meanwhile, her toddler, nicknamed Bubba, was on the bed beside them, reaching toward his baby sister. No bed rails. No adult supervision. Just a toddler, active as ever, climbing around and reaching out, one slip away from a serious accident. We're talking about a kid who could have easily toppled off the bed headfirst onto a hard motel floor. Toddlers don't have the reflexes or coordination to catch themselves during a fall, and something like that can end in broken bones, concussions, or worse. This wasn't a freak accident waiting to happen, it was a dangerous setup from the start. And they posted it like it was cute. Let's be real here, this isn't just different parenting styles or harmless fun. This is neglect, plain and simple. No baby should be face to face with a TV, no toddler should be climbing around an unguarded bed while the parents are on autopilot, and no child should be riding in a car without proper restraints. Stephanie has said that Bubba is autistic, and if that's true, and many followers are taking her word for it, then he especially needs structure, care, and focused support. But from what we've seen, he's getting none of that. Instead of stability, he's growing up in a whirlwind of chaos, distraction, and poor judgment.
Hey yo, Bubba said fuck it. I'm about to bury myself in this dirt. Mama won't take us to the park. Like, is the park too far away? I'm so confused. Like, girl, you could at least take them kids to the park. Then you want people to know that he took 2 baths. Girl, the shelter's free, so the water's free too. Girl, y'all should be bathing abundantly, okay? Morning, noon, and night, okay? Y'all should be in them people water, okay? I tell you that.
And the fact that they're not only doing this, but proudly filming it and posting it online makes it all the more alarming. What they see as casual moments, everyone else sees as serious warning signs. It's not even shocking anymore, at this point, it's a recurring theme. Little Bubba's constantly being seen outdoors with no shoes on, and we're not talking about a cozy, fenced-in backyard. This is a bare, exposed stretch of land behind the motel. It's a public access area, people walk through it all the time, including random strangers and the occasional sketchy passerby. You don't know who's lurking or what's been dropped on the ground. Broken glass, syringes, animal waste, take your pick. But there he is, this little barefoot boy, wandering around like it's a playground. And there's no adult in sight half the time.
The resilient Jenkins baby caught outside all alone. Baby Atlas was caught outside alone in a parking lot by Google Maps. A Google Maps car driving around taking pictures. Now the door was open and I don't know if they were watching from inside, but either way, this was a parking lot. Cars driving around, he could get hit, predators, like people snatch kids. Like how many stories do we hear? He could have just wandered off. He's a toddler. Like he's little. So many horrible things could have happened. And right before this incident, Stephanie had spoken out about wanting to open up about her journey of him being on the spectrum. Like this is a toddler on the spectrum outside in a parking lot wandering around. And it was the Google Maps car driving around snapping pictures, not some weirdo creeping. What were they doing that they did not realize he was out there? Or do they allow this? This little boy is 2 years old, and from what I've seen, he has barely any toys, no routine, no structure, and he's living in chaos. This one bothered me. As a mother, I could not imagine. I'm not going to post the picture because he's a child and it's in front of their hotel room. And I normally just get on here and gossip, but this situation is completely different. I'm actually worried for this baby at this point.
People aren't being dramatic when they say it's concerning. It's not just bad judgment, it's straight up reckless. Especially when you factor in that Bubba is neurodivergent. He already needs more attention, more structure, more protection. So why is he out there without shoes or supervision? And yet, Stephanie acts surprised every time CPS knocks. Sis, they're not showing up for fun. Let's talk about where they live. Stephanie and Drew are staying in a cheap motel with a 28-day max stay rule. That means every month, like clockwork, they've got to uproot their entire lives, diapers, strollers, toys, the works, just to avoid being seen as long-term tenants. They'll usually check out for a few days and then roll right back in like it's business as usual. But in between, they're couch surfing, staying at shelters, or just figuring it out on the fly. And while the adults might be used to that kind of hustle, it's a nightmare for the kids. Imagine being a toddler, never knowing where you're going to sleep next, if there's a fridge, or if there's even space to play. One day, it's a microwave dinner and a bath, the next it's chips from a vending machine and no tub in sight. That kind of instability is rough on any child, but for babies and toddlers who need routine like they need food and sleep, it's damaging. Deeply. Inside their motel room? Total disaster. There's always stuff everywhere, dirty clothes spilling out of bags, old food sitting out on paper plates, sippy cups that haven't been rinsed in days. No real cleaning, no organizing, just barely keeping up. It's not just a mess, it's a health hazard. And the wildest part? Bubba once hid snacks behind the bed for so long that bugs literally started infesting the place. Full-on ants. That only happens when no one is keeping tabs on what's happening around them. No checking under beds, no noticing the signs until it becomes a full-blown problem. And remember, these are the clips they willingly post. This is the version of their life they're proud enough to share with the public. So what does that say about what's going on when no one's watching? It's the same pattern, over and over. Stephanie glued to her phone, recording their every move, arguing with people online, making long rants about how the haters don't understand her. But in all that noise, the kids are just invisible. Not literally, of course, they're right there, but they're barely acknowledged. The bonding moments? Missed. The danger signs? Ignored. She's so caught up in documenting her life, she's not actually living it with her children. Screens have practically replaced parenting in that room. The TV's always on, blaring kids' content like Miss Rachel from just inches away. Not for education, just to keep the babies still while Stephanie and Drew scroll in peace. And when you look closely, the kids aren't engaged, they're zoned out. They're being pacified, not nurtured. And no, it's not just one bad day or a single rough week. This is a lifestyle. This is what they're showing us again and again. It's not exhaustion, it's neglect. Not intentional, maybe, but no less harmful. The part that really twists the knife? Stephanie talks about CPS like they're villains. She calls them child snatchers and paints herself as the target of some grand scheme. But let's be real, CPS doesn't just come in to take kids without reason. That's their last resort. First, they try to help. They offer support, guidance, even services to keep families together safely. But when those warnings go ignored and the problems pile up, that's when they're forced to step in. So when Stephanie screams about being harassed, what she's actually doing is deflecting. She's blaming the people trying to protect her kids instead of asking the hard question, am I doing everything I can to give them a safe, stable life? While Stephanie's out here turning every live stream into a one-woman show about CPS being out to get her, there's a whole other side to this story that she conveniently skips over. She claims she's being unfairly targeted, but behind all the finger-pointing, there's something much darker going on, something she and Drew are actively choosing to keep quiet. They're not just victims of some random CPS vendetta, they're actually keeping a child from his real mother, intentionally. This isn't hearsay. The biological mom has made real efforts to reconnect with her child, and instead of meeting her halfway or even co-parenting, Stephanie and Drew have completely iced her out. No returned calls, no visits, no updates, just pure silence. They've essentially erased her from her own child's life. And that raises the real question, who's really breaking up families here? CPS, who's legally required to check in when concerns are raised? Or Stephanie, who's actively blocking a mother from having any relationship with her own kid? It's the kind of irony that makes your head spin. The same woman ranting about child snatchers is literally doing the thing she claims to fear the most. It's not some tragic misunderstanding or custody mix-up. This is calculated. It's not just selfish, it's cruel. And it completely undercuts the narrative Stephanie loves to push online about being some protective mama bear, just trying to keep her family together. Because when the cameras are off, she's the one doing the damage. The truth is, Stephanie isn't being persecuted. She's being watched because people, lots of people, are worried. And not for no reason. If everything inside that motel room was truly safe and healthy, if those kids were living in a stable and nurturing environment, there wouldn't be so many eyes on them. CPS wouldn't keep knocking, but they do, and that alone says everything. And let's not pretend this is just different parenting styles. This isn't about whether you co-sleep or feed your kids organic snacks. This is about kids growing up in chaos, bouncing between rooms, eating off dirty plates, and falling asleep in clutter. It's about a child being isolated from his birth mom while being raised by people more concerned with defending themselves online than actually improving their situation. Stephanie can scroll past the criticism all she wants. She can go on live and spin her version of events until she's blue in the face. But none of that changes the facts. Her kids aren't being nurtured, they're surviving in a storm. And if she doesn't wake up soon, the system she keeps blaming is going to have no choice but to step in, not to punish her, but to protect the very children she claims to love. And that's where we're gonna leave it for now. As always, this isn't about drama, it's about accountability, especially when kids are involved. You can scream, CPS is the villain, all day, but when the receipts say otherwise, people are gonna speak up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Are you seeing the same red flags, or do you think it's all being blown out of proportion? The comment section is open, but keep it respectful. We're here to protect, not attack. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next update, because trust me, this situation isn't over, and neither are the receipts. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.